It's Saturday afternoon, and you're watching your favorite college team absolutely dominate on the field. The stadium's packed with 80,000 screaming fans. The quarterback just threw a perfect spiral for a touchdown. The crowd goes wild. ESPN's cameras are everywhere. Your school just made $100 million this season from TV deals alone. And that player who just scored, he's getting exactly $0 from any of it. Actually, scratch that. He's probably nursing a concussion he didn't report because he can't afford to miss playing time. Welcome to the bizarre, broken world of college football, where everyone gets rich except the people actually putting their bodies on the line. Now, I know what you're thinking, but they get scholarships, free education, that's worth something. And you're right, it is worth something. But let me walk you through what life is actually like for these athletes, and I think you'll start to see why so many people are calling this system what it really is. Exploitation dressed up in school colors. Let's start with the most basic thing. Time. The NCAA officially limits athletes to 20 hours per week of countable, athletically related activities. 20 hours sounds almost reasonable, right? That's part-time job territory. Except, here's the thing. That number is complete fiction. It's one of those rules that exist on paper but bears zero resemblance to reality. Like when your phone says the battery will last 10 hours but dies in 3. Football players are putting in 40 to 60 hours per week on their sport. We're talking 6 a.m. strength and conditioning sessions, followed by classes, followed by practice, film study, team meetings, treatment for injuries, more weight training, and mandatory team meals. One study found that college football players spend more time on their sport than the average American spends at their full-time job. Think about that. You're supposed to be a student athlete, but you're working more hours than someone with a 9 to 5. And somehow you're still expected to maintain your grades, write papers, and show up to class. Oh, and by the way, if your GPA drops too low, you lose your scholarship and get kicked off the team. No pressure, but the time commitment is honestly the least of it. Let's talk about what's happening to these guys' bodies. Football is violent, like truly violent. Every single play, you've got 250-pound athletes running full speed and colliding with the force of a car crash. These aren't professionals who've spent years conditioning their bodies. These are 18 to 22-year-olds whose brains are still developing, and they're absorbing hits that would hospitalize regular people. The concussion crisis in college football is absolutely terrifying. Studies have found CTE, that's chronic traumatic encephalopathy, the degenerative brain disease, in the brains of college players who never even made it to the NFL. We're talking about guys in their 20s and 30s dealing with memory loss, depression, and cognitive impairment because of hits they took playing for free in college. And here's the really dark part. Players are incentivized to hide injuries. If you report that concussion, you might miss the next game. If you miss the next game, the backup might play well and take your spot. If you lose your spot, you might lose your scholarship. So you keep quiet, you push through, and you hope the headaches go away. One former player described it perfectly. He said, "Playing through injuries in college football is like taking out a loan on your future health that you'll be paying back for the rest of your life, except the interest rate is your quality of life and you signed the papers when you were 18 and didn't know any better." Now let's talk about the money, because this is where things get really infuriating. College football is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Your major programs are bringing in $100 million, $150 million, sometimes $200 million per year. Coaches are getting paid $10 million annually. Athletic directors are making millions. The NCAA itself is a billion-dollar organization. And until literally 2021, if a player accepted even a free meal from a booster or tried to profit from their own name and likeness, they could lose everything. Their scholarship, their eligibility, their entire college career, gone. Meanwhile, their jersey with their number on it is being sold in the campus bookstore for $75, and they can't see a penny of it. There are stories of players going hungry because they couldn't afford food outside of team meals and weren't allowed to get jobs due to their practice schedule. One player got suspended for selling his own championship ring because he needed money to fly home for a family emergency. Let that sink in. He was punished for selling his own property that he earned. The scholarship covers tuition, room, and board, but what about everything else? What about clothes, toiletries, transportation, helping your family back home who might be struggling financially? A lot of these players come from low-income backgrounds, and they're watching their school make millions off their talent while they're scraping together change to do laundry. Let's circle back to that whole student-athlete thing, because it's basically a joke. The entire premise is that these are students first, athletes second, and they're getting a valuable education in exchange for playing. But when you're spending 50 hours a week on football, When are you actually learning? Players get steered into easy majors, given special accommodations that feel more like lowered standards, and basically treated like the education is just a formality we all pretend matters. And here's the kicker: most of these guys aren't going pro. Only about 2% of college football players make it to the NFL. So for 98% of these athletes, college is supposed to be preparing them for their actual career. But how can you prepare for anything when your entire college experience is consumed by a sport that won't pay you afterward? You're leaving college with a degree that might not mean much. Your body is already breaking down from years of abuse, and you have no money saved up because you weren't allowed to earn any. That's the reality for most college football players. Here's maybe the worst part of all this: the complete lack of power these players have. Your scholarship is 1 year at a time. Your coach can decide not to renew it for basically any reason. You can get injured and be immediately dropped from the team with no safety net. There's no union, no collective bargaining, no job security whatsoever. You also can't transfer without sitting out a year, or at least you couldn't until very recently. So if your coach leaves for a better job, or if you're being mistreated, or if the situation just isn't working, tough luck. You're stuck, or you lose a year of eligibility. Meanwhile, coaches jump from school to school with zero penalties, making millions every time they do. The players have all the risk and none of the power, and the system is specifically designed to keep it that way. Look, I'm not saying playing college football is all bad. There's the love of the game, the camaraderie, the experience of playing in front of huge crowds. For some players, it genuinely is worth it, but we need to be honest about what this system is. It's a billion-dollar industry built on the backs of young athletes who see almost none of the revenue they generate. It's a system that treats players as disposable, that prioritizes profit over their health, their education, and their future. The NIL rules that finally let players profit from their name, image, and likeness, that's a start, but it's not nearly enough. We're still a long way from treating these athletes fairly. So next time you're watching college football and marveling at an incredible play, take a second to think about that player. Think about what they're sacrificing, what they're risking, and how little they're getting in return. Because yeah, it kind of sucks to be a college football player. And until we fundamentally change this system, it's going to keep sucking.